much, Mackenzie, and thank you to Mackenzie, TA2TA, and NCJ, FCJ for hosting us today. Thank you also to our interpreters for being here and helping us reach everyone. We do, sorry, I'm seeing someone might be having tech problems in the chat, and so just flagging that for you, Mackenzie. Thank you for being our ongoing tech support. I am here today with my colleague Maureen Baker, also from VAWA MEI, the Violence Against Women Act Measuring Effectiveness Initiative, and our colleague Olivia Stores with OVW. And so thank you both for being here, and thank you to everyone joining today as a participant. So my name is Devin. I don't think I said that yet. Apologies. My name is Devin Grayson Wallace, and I am with the MEI, the Measuring Effectiveness Initiative. We are here today to talk to STOP formula administrators about the new web-based tool for subgrantee progress reporting. Before we get to anything about the tool itself, a little bit more about who we at the MEI are. We are a technical assistance provider. We have a cooperative agreement with OVW, so we are ourselves grantees. We are not part of OVW. We are not grant monitors. Our role instead is twofold. First piece is that we support the Office on Violence Against Women in tracking and measuring the work of VAWA grantees around the country. So we directly collect all formula subgrantee data, and we clean, analyze, and write reports to Congress on both discretionary and formula data. So we align and analyze data from all of your subgrantees, all of the Stop and Stop subgrantees, as well as every single discretionary grantee. So it's a universe of multiple thousands of records of data that we work with on a regular cyclical basis throughout the year. And we put out these reports to Congress on a biennial basis. And so the most recent one, the 2022, has just recently gone live on the OVW website and is now available to be perused by you and anyone else. I can't currently see the chat, but I imagine one of my colleagues will be sharing that shortly in the chat. So if you're interested in checking it out, you might even see your subgrantees quoted in the margins of the report, and you will certainly see the overall STOP formula data for your state represented in the appendices of that report. So we strongly encourage you to go check it out because it's interesting and it helps demonstrate exactly where the data goes and how it gets out there. Not just to members of Congress and decision makers within OVW and the rest of the federal administration, but out to the public as well. So other than this cleaning, analyzing, collecting data, and writing reports to Congress, the other half of our mission is to provide technical assistance to formula administrators. We do this in a variety of ways, including live webinars such as today's, new grantee orientation presentations, and then directly one-on-one to administrators via email, phone call, and over Zoom. Whichever of those works best for you, we are happy to meet you where you are in terms of providing that support, anything related to progress reporting. So today we are going to walk through a little bit of context and background around this new web-based tool, including what resources will be coming soon to help you and your subgrantees navigate this change, who to contact for assistance with any questions you might have. And then we're actually also going to show you the tool. Maureen is going to walk you through exactly how to navigate the administrator dashboard, reviewing, approving, and submitting reports, how to invite your subgrantees into the tool to fill out a progress report, and then how to navigate those subgrantee reports. We will also be taking questions throughout the webinar today, but we ask that you submit them in the Q&A pod so we can keep the chat to friendly conversation, but also anyone who has a technical issue and needs support from Mackenzie during the webinar. So before we jump into the tool, which is how all subgrantee data will be reported for this current upcoming reporting period, aka the 2023 calendar year, we want to just say a word about the administrator reports. So the admin reports have not changed this year, except for the due date being pushed back to accommodate the launch of this new tool. So you will still need to download an administrator report PDF from the MEI website. You will still need to open Adobe Acrobat Reader DC and fill out that PDF within Adobe. And then you will still need to submit it into Just Grants the way you always do. And the only change is that the due date for those are June 30th, 2024. And that aligns with the date by which you must submit all of your subgrantee data to us at MEI through the tool. So we did get a question in the chat asking about a separate presentation on how to use the tool for subgrantees. And I see Maureen is typing an answer. But for anyone listening along and not able to open the Q&A pod at this time, we just want to say that this webinar is geared towards administrators, and all of our technical assistance as MEI is geared towards administrators. And so we will speak in a moment about the role of administrators in supporting subgrantees, and we are happy to help you as the administrator support your subgrantees, answer questions about subgrantee progress reporting, anything like that. But ultimately, our audience is administrators. We will be having some resources posted on our website that you can share with your subgrantees, such as videos that demonstrate, the how to navigate the subgrantee progress reporting, which Maureen will also demonstrate today. So you can send those out at a later date when they are available on our website. Okay, now before we go any further, I'm going to turn it over to Olivia to talk about the context and rationale for this. Cool. Thank you for being here, Olivia.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Devin. Thank you, Maureen. And thank you so much to everybody who's in the chat for joining us today and for your incredible work administering and doing the work every day in communities around the country. We really, really appreciate it. And I just have to say, as a former grantee, I'm so excited to be coming to you with this update, with this updated form. And I'm really grateful to MEI for their partnership, as well as work at OVW that we've been going through for the past several years to make sure that we're making performance reporting easier for you and easier for your subgrantees, because ultimately we want you to be focusing on survivors and on victims and on doing the work every day in your community. So the context behind this presentation, the context behind this shift is that OVW tasked the Measuring Effectiveness Initiative with creating a new data collection process. We did this because we recognize that the PDF forms were creating challenges for folks across the country. We recognize that it took a long time to fill out. We recognize that a lot of folks encountered a variety of difficulties. So we hear you, we got it, we are listening. Thank you to everyone who participated in listening sessions or provided feedback to us on performance reporting. Please know that not only do we read your performance reporting data, but we also try to listen to your concerns and perspectives. So hopefully this is an example of why filling out performance reports matters, and also why talking to OVW about the challenges that you face in your communities can make your lives and your jobs easier. So again, thank you to everyone involved in this transition, in this process. Key objectives for making this transition to a web-based tool away from just a PDF tool, although as noted, administrators will still submit a PDF, was to be compliant with updated VAWA, so VAWA 2022, VAWA 2013, and the federal confidentiality processes. So we know that we need to be compliant with all of those. We also recognize that, we are in the year 2024, we have AI, and we can and should be adapting to current industry standards and the evolving technology that we have across the country. So we wanted to make sure that we had a tool that was reflective of the technology and really where we are as a field and as a community. We also wanted to make sure that the new reporting form was more accessible. Again, we recognize that the PDF forms can create challenges for folks or may be difficult for some folks to see or for screen readers to read. We hear that, and we are working really hard to make sure that this form is more accessible and that we continue to iterate on it and make it as accessible as possible. We also wanted to make sure that whatever form we used moving forward was nimble enough to allow for change and future expansion. As you know, VAWA is reauthorized usually every 5 years, and things change. We know that the needs that your community face change, and we want OVW to be able to be responsive to that. That means that sometimes performance reporting needs to change. And so this form is going to be iterative and adaptable to the different needs that your community might have. Number one goal was to reduce burden for subgrantees and create ease for administrators. We wanted to make it easier for folks to fill out performance reporting and then focus on the work that they do every day in their communities. So thank you so much for the work that you do to ensure quality and consistent performance reporting across the country. Trust me, we use this data to inform public policy, to justify future spending, and in our report to Congress, which I encourage you to read. And we are really, really grateful that we're going to hopefully make the job of performance reporting just a little bit easier moving forward, and we are committed to continuing to do so. So happy to answer any questions from the perspective of OVW. And I'll just end by thanking MEI again. Thank you, Devin, and thank you, Maureen, as well as thank you to all of you who contributed to flagging some of the challenges that you encountered with performance reporting. And thank you for those who tested the first product and have contributed to this pilot. I really appreciate it. Over to you all.
Thank you, Olivia. We really appreciate you being here today to speak to this and also to answer any other targeted OVW questions that might arise today. So the next piece that I'm going to speak to is exactly how you as an administrator will gain access to the web-based progress reporting tool. So this tool will be live for all of you as administrators beginning May 6th. So 2 weeks, slightly less than 2 weeks from now, you all will receive an email from VAWA MEI, from the general VAWA MEI email account, inviting you to set up your account for your state or territory. If you are the administrator for both STOP and SASP, you will have access to the reports and data for both programs under one account. So you will get an email from us, and when you follow that email and set up your account, you will have the option there to toggle between STOP and SASP. If you are only the administrator for STOP, then the SASP admin will get an invitation to their email address, inviting them to create the account for your state or territory. If you as the administrator are not the only person who needs administrative access to the subgrantee data, who needs access to your state's dashboard, just email VAWA MEI, and we will invite any other people that you tell us also need their own account. And we will help them set up their account, and it will bring them to that same state dashboard for your state or territory. So once you are logged in, you will be able to access your dashboard, and right in there is where you will generate links to blank subgrantee progress reports. And you can also view in-progress reports and copy that link and to any in-progress report and share it out as you will. You'll be able to view subgrantee reports in progress, and you'll be able to review, change request, and approve those reports. Finally, it is right there within your state dashboard that you will submit final subgrantee data to MEI. Now, Maureen will show you exactly where the buttons to do each of these things are, but to give you an idea of exactly what happens within your administrator access to your state dashboard, these are the things that you'll be able to do. Subgrantee access. Formula subgrantees will not have accounts at all to this web-based tool. Instead, subgrantees will use a link provided by you as their administrator to access a blank report. Maureen will show you later exactly where this link is, but it will give you the option to grab the URL that represents a blank report for your state. You will need to share this URL to your subgrantees outside of the system. There's no way for you to say, put subgrantees emails into the system to send them an email through the tool. That's something you will need to share with them outside of the tool. Once a subgrantee follows that URL to a blank report, it will begin with a space asking them to enter point of contact information, where they will enter data beginning with their name, their organization, and their email address. Once they save that and continue past that screen, it will generate a unique link for them. It will prompt them to save that unique link, but you can also always supply it back to them because you will be able to view it within your dashboard and copy it and share it to them. Once they get past that initial phase of entering their general grant information, subgrantees will enter all data on their stop funded activities right there within the web-based reporting system. It looks a little bit like a survey where you have fields that the subgrantees will need to fill out as they move through the different sections of the report. After entering all of the data about what was done with their stop subgrant funds, your subgrantees will click the button to submit their report to you as their administrator for review. At that time, after subgrantees have completely filled out their progress report data, they will have the option to download their own data. You will also have the option, as Maureen will show you later, to download the data reported by any particular subgrantee, or to download the total set of data once you have approved it. We got a question in the chat asking if administrators will be able to send the link for reports at any time or if there will be a set time period. So for this year, because you will not have access until May 6th, you will not be able to share the blank report URL for your state or territory until you yourself can get into your administrator account and access that blank URL for your particular state or territory. It's up to you, like when within that May 6th to June 30th period, you want to invite your subgrantees into the tool to start filling out their data. You could do it right away on May 6th if that was what you wanted. It's all at your discretion, but the one piece that is required by OVW is that you submit all of your subgrantee data to us at MEI by June 30th. And I see the follow-up question is that you're wondering about next year. Yes, there will be a set time period that you will need to share the report within. I don't know if that was a complete sentence.
Do you want me to jump in?
No, I got it. Thank you, Maureen.
Thank you, yeah.
I just started the sentence in an awkward spot, but thank you. So because this tool is not a data storage tool, you will not have access to it throughout the entire year. Your access will be time limited around a certain window of reporting. So that being said, for example, you wouldn't be able to send the link out to your subgrantees in October for the following year. So, and Maureen, after this, please feel free to jump in. We have not yet set, as far as I know, exactly when we will be making the tool live again for calendar year 2024 data submission. But we will certainly be communicating out whatever that date is that we will be opening up the tool for administrators in advance of when it will be available to you next year. So I don't know yet exactly how long it will be open or exactly when it will be open, but I do know that it is something we will be communicating out ahead of time. What did I miss, Maureen? Anything?
No, I think
Okay.
you got it there. Yeah, it's yet to be determined, but there will be some time available. It won't be a last minute thing. You'll have more time than this year.
Yeah, thank you, Maureen. And thank you for the question. And so another administrator has asked if subgrantees will see the June 30th due date. And that is a great question. No, I mean, if they download some of our materials from our website, they will, or if they go there. But you as the administrator certainly can and probably should set an earlier date for the deadline to leave yourself time to review all of those subgrantee reports, because you will have to individually approve each report before you can submit it to us within the tool. I know it varies from state to state, but in years past, when the deadline was March 30th, I had heard of some states where they required subgrantees to submit all their data to them 2 weeks before the due date for us, and other states where they required subgrantees to submit all the data to them as the administrator a month before it was due to us at MEI. So whatever you choose as a due date for your subgrantees to submit data into the tool for you is entirely up to you.
And I would just add that as part of this, there's no communication within the tool itself, and we'll probably say that a few times today. All communication between administrators and subgrantees has to happen at this point outside of the tool. So as an administrator, your first connection with subgrantees about this progress report will be in an email with a unique link, and then you could say, due back to me at X time.
Yeah, thank you, Maureen, and great question. Someone else has asked if they were a user tester, can they still access the reporting tool? And my understanding is that they cannot. We have sort of deactivated that live version while we continue to work on it, because quite a few changes have been made since the user testing phase. And so it will be anyone who had a user testing account will still need to follow the link we share on May 6th and set up a new account. Actually, I shouldn't say new account.
They will be invited again, right? So you'll get a separate invitation to this tool now.
And you'll want to follow that.
And follow the directions for that, yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Maureen. Great question. All right, a little bit about administrators' role. So STOP administrators support subgrantees a variety of really key ways. The first is orienting subgrantees to the data that they need to report. So you as the administrator should have a grasp on, what is an FTE or what a particular subgrantee's activities were because of the way they used funds. Anything that they used stop funding on should be represented in this progress reporting data submission. You as the administrator will need to answer subgrantee questions about the data to be collected. Administrators also review each subgrantee report and, if needed, address any errors or misunderstandings with the subgrantee before approving it and sending it into us at MEI for as like your final data submission. That being said, if you are unsure about how to answer a subgrantee question about any of these, anything to do with subgrantee progress reporting, please don't hesitate to reach out to us at MEI, and we're happy to work with you as the administrator to figure out the answer to your subgrantees questions or support you in the way you will direct them to map their grant funded activities onto the progress report. If you have a question that is about like the overall use of STOP funds or whether certain activities are statutorily permitted, anything like that, that's actually an OVW question, and please reach out to your OVW program specialist. Anything to the progress reporting, we're happy to help with. So part of the administrator's review of each subgrantee report is to ensure that each subgrantee has reported on all of their STOP funded activities, but also only on their STOP funded activities. So if you know a particular subgrantee also receives like VOCA funding, anything done with that other funding stream should not be included in the numeric portions of the progress reporting form. The same as in previous years. After reviewing each subgrantee report to make sure it's complete, it reflects what they did with STOP funds, everything they did with STOP funding is represented there. Administrators have 3 options. You can deny a submitted subgrantee report to unlock that report and request changes. Again, you cannot directly message the subgrantee through the tool. You will need to send them an email or reach out to them in some other way outside of the tool to let them know that you are requesting changes be made to their report that they submitted. You can also make changes directly to the report yourself. And finally, you can approve the report. And so as Maureen will show you, there are 2 separate tabs within the tool, one for pending submissions and one for approved submissions. And so choosing to approve the report will move it over onto that approved tab. And at that point, once all of the data have been reviewed and approved are in that secondary approved tab of your account, you can click the button to submit all subgrantee data to MEI. It is also at that time that you will have options to download the full set of data. There's a download button right up at the top of your dashboard. Okay. So if you have already gone to the MEI website to view the resources we posted there, you will have seen the sample subgrantee progress reporting form. And it is not a fillable PDF and cannot be used to submit subgrantee data for the fiscal year, calendar year 2020, not fiscal year, the calendar year 2023 period, apologies. But it does outline all of the questions that are part of the subgrantee progress reporting for that 2023 reporting period. You will notice that there have been some changes made to the data requested. So if, because of that change and some of the newly requested data, if your subgrantees don't have some of the data, here is the guidance you should give them. In alignment with previous years, any numbers reported should have adequate source documentation. So if your subgrantee has a rough estimate of a number, please do not include that in the subgrantee report. Instead, they should use the narrative fields to explain the missing data or activities that they can quantify and back up with source documentation at this time. OVW is aware that subgrantees may not have data for these questions that were recently added for this year. And so as always, the overall guidance is just to report to the best of their ability and plan to collect the data for future reporting periods and use the narrative to explain that the data is not available because they did not know that they would need to be submitting it for this year. Okay, and with that, I will turn it over to Maureen for a demonstration of the tool.
All right. Thank you, Devin. And thank you all for the questions that you were asking. I hope we were able to answer them so far, but if we missed any, please let us know and we will continue to answer things as they come up for you. Yeah, so I get the pleasure of introducing you all to the dashboard and also to the subgrantee progress report and how this all works. And I'm going to be sort of going over much of what Devin spent the last few minutes talking through. And so you can sort of see visually what we've been talking about. And so I just want to do a quick moment to start with that you'll be getting this email from us with a link. And that's how you're going to start logging in. Once you've made your password and created that account, you can go to reporting.vawamei.org. So that's VAWAMEI.org as listed here. And when you click on that and you put in your email account and your password, you will be brought to this page. And this page is the opening page to your dashboard. And what you'll want to do first, there's information here to read through, but your biggest point that you're wanting to continue to go to over and over again is going to be your dashboard where you sign in. And this is what your dashboard is going to look like at first. Now I do have SASP here, but I have that here because I just want to let you know that it's going to be empty, right? When you first get into your dashboard. But I'm going to turn it over to stop, as you are all stop administrators. And as subgrantees are starting to fill out their progress reports, your dashboard is going to start being populated with their reports. So the dashboard has two main tabs. The first is the pending submissions tab. And then there's another tab with approved submissions. And I'm going to go over each one of those individually. So the pending shows all of the progress, all of the in progress submissions. And that would include those that say the status says pending. And what that means is that the subgrantee is still working on it. It has not been submitted or sent on to you as the administrator. The other thing that it could be is completed, which means that the subgrantee has gone through their entire progress report. And at the bottom, they've hit validate and submit. And then that locks the form for them. They can't make any more changes. And it shows for you completed. And then the third thing you might see here, and this would be because you've done something, is edits requested. And with this one, you would see this if a subgrantee completed their report and instead of approving it, you denied it, basically sending it back to them to say, can you do some edits? Because there are some things that are wrong, and then resubmit it to me as your administrator. So those are the three types of status versions that you would see. The other thing that you can see here is that you have these actions that you can do. The first thing is if a report has been completed, you can view the report and it brings you to the actual report that subgrantees have filled out and have submitted to you, or that you have edits requesting, or you can see through a pending one, oh, look, we have a number of things that are done, completed, but we have a few places that it's not. So that's a way that you as a administrator can view where these progress reports are in their process. You could also do the URL, and that if you have a subgrantee who can't find or can't remember their subgrantee URL, their report URL, there's a few different ways that they can go about getting it. But if it comes to it, they can also contact you, and you can click on the URL, copy this for them, and send it to them. And then that becomes that is their unique URL. And then, as I said, you can approve, deny, or delete. The other thing about this is that all of these titles are ways you can sort. So if you only want to see those that are pending, you can sort in this order. If you want to see by name, you can sort here. All of these are there for you to be able to manipulate and see the status of your progress, of your subgrantee progress reports. Yeah, and then the approved submissions, you have a few different things. It has very similar. You still can do your sorting through each of these titles. But the thing that you see on here is when you have a pending submission and you click approve, once you've viewed it, if you click approve, it will now go over, it leaves the pending submissions tab, and it's now comes to this approved submissions tab. And here you now can still see the report itself. You can still get the URLs. And then here you can download individual subgrantee progress reports. And you can submit them. So there's a couple things you're seeing here. You're seeing that the status here is approved, which means you just clicked it on the other side. And then there's these that are submitted, and the submitted ones are ones that you've clicked and said, okay, I'm done. I have hopefully all or most of our subgrantee forms here. I'm now going to submit and finalize it to to MEI. And what you'll see is when you do that submit and finalize, you can no longer do anything with those reports, sub-reports, unless you contact us at MEI, and then we can unlock it for you. But until you hit submit, you have the option to unapprove. So if your subgrantee said, oops, I made a mistake, can you send it back to us? You can unapprove it. It gets brought back into this list, and you can send them the link. It opens it back up for them so that they can make those changes and resubmit. So I know we do have a few questions, and I don't know if we've answered all of them. So Devin, I'll look to you if I've missed some of these things. Yeah.
Sorry, Maureen. I am typing answers, but if you could also answer them loud, that would be great. The next one is we got a question asking if the URL, the blank report URL for subgrantees is like a universal URL that can be shared out in a mass message, or if it is an individual URL that must be sent out in individual emails.
That's great. So thank you. That's a great question. So the piece around these URLs. So as an administrator, if you are a STOP administrator or a STOP and SASP administrator, as Devin said, you will have this dashboard. And the way you get the folks to fill out to get their URLs is you would click on blank form URL. There is one URL for each state or territory. So one STOP URL and one SASP URL. If you are only a STOP administrator, this pop-up will only show STOP. The way that you start your subgrantees out is that you would copy the URL And then you would be able to send one mass email to all of your subgrantees, and all of those subgrantees would get the same unique URL. And I'll put it in here in another tab because this is another thing you can do. And what's going to happen is they will get this. This is the URL that everyone in your state or territory will get based on the URL that you sent. Once the subgrantee comes in here and says, I want to start a new report, then in the process of starting the report, they create a unique ID that is unique only to them. And so I'm just going to show this very quickly there, and you can do this as an administrator too. If you want to fill out some things for your subgrantees instead of having them do it themselves, if that's how you work. Let's see, I'm just going to do. These are the specific pieces of information that is needed, and you can see where it pops up. If it's not right, you get a little red error message until it is right. And this one requires it to be at least looking like an email address. When they hit save and continue, now this pops up as a new URL that is specific to them, to that report. And so it says to them, hey, copy this URL and save it somewhere so that you can go back into your report. But there's also ways for them to find their progress report by putting in their email if they need to. And so, yes, the short answer is it only takes one email out to a whole group of people. And then they make their own individual URLs. Let's see, are there other questions that, yeah. Can administrators enter progress report data on behalf of the subgrantee? Yes, you can. So the place now we're here, and this is actually, I'm going to show you how if you're in your dashboard, you would have, I don't see it here, but it might not be there right now. You will have that. Oh, see, there you go. I just made a new one. Now it's showing up, right? And it's showing up as pending because we just did this one. So if you as an administrator want to enter progress report data, you would go through the process that I just did of creating each progress report for individual subgrantees. And then as an administrator, you have this little button at the top of the report that you could use at any time. And once you click on this button, you can now enter data. When it's off, all you're doing is reviewing. If I'm clicking around, nothing's happening. But if I edit this report, then I can go through and start filling out parts of this form on behalf of the subgrantees. All right, and I see there's a couple more questions. How are administrators supposed to get the data from projects that end mid-year if the tool is not available year-round? So that's another really good question. This is the process is not really changing from how it has been in the past. We still only submit to OVW once a year. So although the data can be given to administrators in the past at any time because they were PDFs, it still isn't submitted to OVW until March of each year, right? It's always the March following the calendar year that data is delivered to OVW or delivered to MEI on behalf of OVW. So that stays the same. Again, we're going to be trying to figure out the timing of the reason why we can't have this open all the time is that this is not a place where we're storing data, and we need to be able to have the data come in and have it processed and then removed before we start the next round of setting up accounts for administrators and allowing access for the next year. So I hope that helps, and let me know if you need more information about that.
We have a couple questions, and I think the answer is they can't. The subgrantee, sorry, we have a couple questions about how a subgrantee could submit a report mid-year. And traditionally, we at MEI have not accepted stop subgrantee data in the middle of the year. You as the stop administrator have been working with a historical deadline of March 30th. And so that will remain the same in future years. You will need to get MEI, the subgrantee data by March 30th. And the formula subgrantee progress reporting period is that whole calendar year of January 1st to December 31st. And I understand that in some states and territories, that's not how you award your subgrantee funding, but that is well outside the jurisdiction or authority of us at MEI. Our role is simply to support you in mapping the subgrantee data onto the progress reporting forms. And that is the progress reporting period that we are given to work with, and that is set by OVW and perhaps even statute. And so the advice I would have for you is simply to collect that data yourself whenever it is that you need it from your subgrantee, and then submit it into the tool when you are submitting the rest of your subgrantee data. And please, Olivia, if you want to chime in with anything, feel free.
Yeah, thanks, Devin. I will just emphasize that the timeline is emphasized by is determined by statute. I understand and recognize some of the anxieties around accessing the tool year round, and I have put our email in the chat. I'm happy to kind of talk more about concerns around subgrantee technical assistance to subgrantees. As MEI has noted, we view state administrators as really our point of contact. We don't typically contact subgrantees directly, although happy to connect to discuss further and talk through any concerns or challenges you might have.
All right, so I am going to move on to talk about the subgrantee reports and how you can navigate, review and approve and make changes and all of those things within the subgrantee report. And this is where earlier I typed an answer saying, although this is not a training for subgrantees, everything that we're about to show you when it comes to the progress reports is exactly what the subgrantees are going to be seeing. So hopefully this will help you also help your subgrantees. So as I mentioned, when you are ready to review the subgrantee report, and this one is completed, so it was already submitted to us, and it's ready for either approval or deny, you can view it, and there's a few things that you'll notice. One of the things is, in order for them to submit to you, all of these have to be green. These are validations that are built in. And so if they have not yet been submitted to you, some of these will not be green. The way you navigate, so I'm going to go back to one that isn't green, and just one that is in progress. I think I'm going to do this one. That's right. So this is the subgrantee that has started the progress report, but there are some things that are not completed yet. The way that you will navigate as an administrator is you can review, as I said, anything, and you can use these buttons at the end of the page to see what your subgrantees have reported. Now this one is one where there was an error, and so as you're going through, you are in this general information category, and it's asking for percentage of funds, and it looks like the subgrantee forgot to put in all of the amounts because this has to equal 100. If you hit edit the report you can then do, let's see if I can add. Oh, it's now 100. It's now, this is not something I would want to send back to the subgrantee. So I made that change and I'm going to click save and go to the next page and then choose to turn it off again if I'm back into the review. So those are the kinds of things that you could do. As I said, the navigation is always on the bottom. The other way that you can navigate is actually specifically through this side panel. And you can be looking at, okay, something's wrong with the narratives. Let me come just down here and you can see, well, that narrative looks fine. That one's fine. Oh, wait, let's look here. Oh, there's nothing on page 5 of the narratives. So, okay, that one they forgot to fill out. And again, if you want to make an edit, you can edit it and change it and save and go to the next. It's always important to know that as this is being filled out, every section needs to hit save and go to the next, even if the section is getting an answer that is, no, we did not use funds for this. You still have to then click save and go to the next. Here is the validate and submit section. And the thing about this is that this will only pop up sections where there's a problem. So if you navigate back up to the top, you'll see staff. Yep, that one, it's not complete. Purpose areas wasn't even started. And victim services wasn't started. So if you are the subgrantee, click on staff, it'll bring this up. And we have, yes, we used funds, save and go to the next. Well, we don't have anything in here. And so that's why there's an error there. If you put in data and then hit save and go to the next, that's now going to be green. And so that's how you know if there's an error in the form or not. And that's how your subgrantees will know as well. You also see that there are a few different options. If you say no for this one, because we're not going to go fill out all the information in that, you can save and go to the previous page. You can save and go to the next page, or you can say, you know what, I don't have this information. I'm going to save right where we are, and maybe I'll come back tomorrow. If you're the subgrantee clicks on save and continue later, the unique URL for this report will pop up so that you can copy and save that URL and return later to this report. That's the only difference really between save and continue later versus save and go to the next page. All right. Want to make sure I'm not missing any pieces. Okay. So we will save and go to the next page and go to validate. Now you see that nothing is in the validation section. That means everything is correct. And this can now be submitted. And it pops up to ask, are you sure you want to submit this form to your administrator? And the subgrantee would, when they say yes, it is now going to show up in your dashboard as completed, right? It's now submitted to you. The subgrantee has their option to download the report for themselves. And the other thing is that they now no longer have an ability to make changes to the form because it is now with you. And you would see in your dashboard that there would be another completed form here. So I'm going to pause here and see if there are questions that need to be answered.
Yeah, thanks, Maureen. So we got a question asking if the changes are tracked as sections are edited. So if an administrator updates or edits a subgrantee's report, will it be obvious what or where the change was made?
And I don't think that at this point in our first iteration, I forgot to say this at the beginning, is that this is definitely our MVP, it's called minimum viable product. We are continuing to enhance this tool and will in the coming reporting period. At this point, there is no track changes that is built into the tool. Other
And then
questions, Devin? Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. The next question is, when subgrantees hit save and continue later on in filling out their progress report, is the URL that shows up the same as the URL created by them at the beginning?
Yes, great question. Yes, it is. Once that unique URL is made, it does stay the same. And that's why we have them try to save that URL from the very beginning.
Another question we got is, will the URL always pop up after clicking the save progress report and continue later, or only after the first time that someone clicks that button?
Yeah, another good question. It will pop up every time that button is clicked where it says save and continue later. It will always pop up as a URL. So a new URL is not created every time they enter data. It is only the unique URL is only created after they fill out that first page of the form and hit submit. And then that's when this report URL, it's a URL for the report itself, is created. And anytime it is updated, it'll just update the report, but the URL itself doesn't change. Another reason why that's a really good thing, actually, something I haven't mentioned yet, is if your subgrantee has a MOU partner, for example, and that MOU partner does work with the specialized units, you can, as a subgrantee, they can copy this URL, which is specific to this report, and email it to the MOU partner, and the MOU partner can be in and working on this progress report at the same time as the subgrantee. So you can have multiple people working on this URL, this same report at the same time, which is a much nicer thing than the PDFs have been. The caveat here is that if two people are working on the exact same data point at the same time and click save, whoever ends up with the save at the second later is going to be the one that's saved. But if they're working on different sections of the form, you can have multiple people in. Any other questions before we move on, Devin? Thank you for keeping an eye on them.
Yeah. Thank you for answering them. We got another question. If a subrecipient receives a continuation project each year, will that subrecipient have its own unique URL address or receive a new URL each year they complete a new report?
Well, can you repeat that again? I think I understood it, but.
Yeah, the question is about if a subgrantee is a continuing subgrantee, will they need to use a new URL each year?
Yes, and we haven't started the process for the next year, but as we said, this is not, no data will be saved in this system. So short answer would be yes, it's going to be basically starting a new report each year. Even if they've reported in the past. As an administrator, you'll be going through the same process of creating that unique URL for your state and sending that out to subgrantees.
Another question that we got is about if the downloadable PDF Muskie progress report will be updated for 2024. And I'll take this one. I assume the question about downloadable PDF Muskie. So the progress report right now that is available on the MEI website is a sample report of all the data to be collected in this web-based tool for the 2023 period. So for the 2024 period, my understanding is that no changes will be made. That's really OBW's decision about whether changes will be made to the data to be collected, but it's not anything that we are working on just yet. And we started working on these data changes well over a year ago. So it is a long process to make changes to the data to be collected. I hope that that answers your question. I'm not sure.
Wondering if part of the question was the administrator form, which is also a PDF. And so if that is the question, the administrator form is currently something that you still have to download off of the website and fill out the PDF and upload it into Just Grants. It is our plan by the next year. So when the 2024 data is due in the first of 2025, that there will be an online version of the administrator's form as well. Now it'll still have to be downloaded and then uploaded into Just Grants, but the plan is for the progress report, the administrator's report, to be also filled out online in a similar format.
Thanks, Maureen. Two more questions. Someone has asked us to demonstrate how to download the data and would like to know if it can be downloaded before being submitted to MEI or after, and the file format the data is downloaded in.
Great. Yes, good questions. Again, so you can download reports in a few different ways. When you're on the pending submissions tab, you can go up to the download reports here. And if you click on this, the reports that are pending submission here, or not approved yet by you, will pop up, and it'll be downloaded into a CSV file. Now, CSV is not everyone's favorite, and it's certainly something, again, that we'll be working on enhancing in the future. But if you take that CSV file and then you save as a Excel file, then it can easily be turned into Excel. It's also done in a horizontal way, which is not everyone's favorite, again, but when you have like 100 subgrantees or even 20, all of their data will be in these rows and by these categories. So that's one way of downloading reports that aren't even all approved yet. Then if you go to the approved submissions, you can again download all of the approved submissions. If you click this on the approved tab, it'll download just like the other one into a CSV, or you can do individual subgrantee data downloaded here. Again, it's going to come in as a CSV and in that same format.
Thank you, Maureen. And then someone very kindly suggested that they learned recently on a TA call, if you need a subgrantee to edit a certain page of their report, you can email them the URL to that specific page, which this administrator was very excited about. So I would love it if you could walk through how to do that, Maureen. Thank you.
Yes.
Thanks for that suggestion.
Absolutely. So we're going back to the pending ones. And so if this one has edits requested, right? If you don't want to just copy the whole URL and send the entire URL back saying, please fix this, you can view their form and you can go to whatever one you want and say that the staff didn't look right. And so you can take that URL and copy that URL and use that one to send that back to the subgrantee and say, can you please fix the staff section? Here is the link to that section of your form. Very user-friendly, hopefully.
Thank you, Maureen.
I appreciate all these questions.
Yeah.
Oh, I've been liking the questions. It's really helpful to hear what's really on everyone's mind. So, and I think it's actually brought us to most of what I was going to be talking about anyway. So I will just make sure that we have hit everything. Oh, one thing I want to mention that I haven't mentioned yet. This is something that's important for subgrantees to know, is that when you are looking at the form, these questions are dynamic. And that's because how we're building this system is that it's the STOP and the SASP forms are, although they have different amounts of questions and different types of questions for different pieces of it, where they are the same, we're trying to build unity. So the numbers in each section will always start with a 1, right? No matter where you go, it's going to be training question 1, data collection question 1, and so on. And so if you're looking at the instructions for these pieces, it's important to, let's see, when referencing a specific question on the report in the separate instructions, or as an administrator, you'll want to know the section it's in as well as the question number, like victim services question 1. Let's see.
And someone else asked if there was if the report views are printable.
That's I know I keep saying that's a great question. My understanding at this point is that we don't have, it is not downloadable. We have not built in any kind of ability to print off a page of the screen. I mean, if you have a screen, if you have a button, or if you do a screenshot or those kinds of things, but the utility of printing off a report that looks more like a report or mimics this interface is not something that we have right now.
The one thing I'll add to that is just that the subgrantee sample progress reporting form is a PDF, and that can be printed, and it just outlines like what each of the questions are. It doesn't look like this, like it's formatted as a PDF. It's not screenshots of the tool, but depending on what you're hoping for in this printout, the
Right.
sample form does outline exactly how each question is like phrased and framed in the order. Oh, perfect. Thank you, Maureen.
Yep. So this is one of those things you can get to right from your dashboard's homepage. And this is that sample that you could send out to your subgrantees. It has exactly the same questions that are on the tool itself. So, if you're asking about, if somebody wants to, these are not fillable at all, but it at least gives the data that is being collected. All right, I think the only thing, there's a couple things that I think would be helpful to just touch on again. One is that, let's see. Yeah, so the things that you'll want to look for is if there is a yellow exclamation point, that means there's a validation error. That's one way to know that there's an issue. The other way to know if there is an issue is if it has a red piece of writing there that basically says this is something. Some of our questions are questions that are required, and other questions are questions that are not everybody will be answering. This is a question that's required, which will then skip. If you say yes, it'll open up more questions about staff. If you say no, it'll click to the next section. So we have these validations built in. If you say yes, for example, and then you try to not have something here, we'll have a validation error pop up here. And then the final place of validation errors are in it, where I talked to you before about validate and submit. This list will always show where there are errors. So those three things I think are important. There's three different ways to be looking at that. I think the final thing to go over is if you forget your password when you because this is all about the email that we sent to you. If you forget your password and you need a new one, the easiest thing to do is to click on forgot password. It's really simple. It's an automated process, and it'll send an email. It'll send an email to you saying, here, go ahead and change your password. If you try 5 different times to fill in the password and you get it wrong each time, there will be, you'll be locked out for 10 minutes. But then after that 10 minutes is passed, you can try again, or most likely, click on the forgot the password there and reset your password for that. If anything goes wrong at any point with this, if you need support in trying to remember how these things work, or your subgrantee is asking questions, we are always here to help. And that's another really big piece that we want to always emphasize. We do this because this is what we're funded to do, but we also really love talking to and working with real people out there. And so I have to sign it in. And so please don't hesitate to contact us, reach out to us, ask questions. We're happy to help at any point. And a big time that might happen is, again, if you are at the approved submission part and you've already submitted files, you will have to email us and say, I didn't really mean to submit that, or I needed to take that back, and we can unlock it from our end. But we're really here to help navigate this with you. I think that's all for the tool. Devin, does that?
Yeah, we got one more clarifying question about the administrator access. If 2 people that are going to be logging into the dashboard, as in like with functional administrator roles, will they have their own login information to access the same dashboard?
Great, thank you for asking that. So yes, we are going to be sending this out initially to the contact, the one administrator that we have. We've gotten information from OVW. These are the administrators for each state and territory. However, if you want additional people to have dashboard access, that's the word I'm looking for, please reach out to us and we will work on setting up another I think I've lost my words for the rest of the day. And
we will invite them to set up their own login.
Yes.
So they will have their own account, and it will bring them to the exact same dashboard.
Thank you, Devin.
State or territory.
Yes. When different users sign in to work, does the system identify who took which actions? So at this point, we don't have that audit trail built in. So again, it's going to be whatever was done last would be what is standing, and it doesn't have an ability to track if there are multiple people in there who did what last or who did what.
Thank you, Maureen. So we have slightly less than 15 minutes remaining. Thank you for that reminder, Mackenzie. And in the flurry of questions, Maureen, did you already speak to the validations within the tool? I
did.
Missed it. Okay, great. I figured you would have, but
the validation errors and yes, how to see them. Yep.
Great, thank you. So then I will continue just in our last couple minutes with the information about the coming resources and who to go to with questions. So As I mentioned, there's a sample subgrantee form available on the MEI website right now. It outlines exactly all the questions that will be available in the tool. It is not a fillable PDF, so please don't try to use it to submit the data, but it will give you and your subgrantees an idea of how to, of what to expect and what they'll be collecting. It's really pretty similar to the way it's been, but we've tried to remove some things and converted some sections into narrative questions that used to be numeric questions. There are also the full complete instructions on subgrantee reporting. So just as in previous years, the instructions go through every single question in the subgrantee progress report and tell the reader how to answer each question. Things like, how to calculate, how to account for FTEs in the staff section, and the victims that are fully served versus partially served. All of that is in the subgrantee reporting instructions, and those are available on our website right now. Coming next week, are 2 different guides and accompanying demonstration videos. One will be how to navigate the administrator dashboard, which is a very simple tutorial on the buttons, basically what Maureen showed you today and what is included in this slide deck that we've been working through. The other is how to fill out a subgrantee report, and that is the same thing, but geared towards the subgrantee progress report section. So it talks about what the progression buttons and how to return to your in progress report, everything like that. And so there will be PDF guides for that, which, will be downloadable, printable, even if that's your thing. And then there will also be videos that demonstrate a user clicking through those buttons. There will also be a question by question instructional video akin to the ones of previous years that just talk about how to fill out each question. There will be a recording of today's webinar, including closed captioning, and there will be a Spanish language translation, all of which will be posted to the MEI website next week to give us time to do the technical conversion aspects. Now, you have a lot of resources available to you in various ways. So the Also STAR project is your comprehensive TA provider as a staff administrator, which likely you all already know, but we just can't say enough good things about all of the work that they do to support you all as administrators. And so they have quite a few resources available to you on their website and at the links outlined here. They're also a great place to reach out to if you're looking for best practice examples, assistance with implementation, or any other questions about carrying out your staff administrator responsibilities other than the progress reporting. If you have questions or need technical support in submitting your administrator report into Just Grants, that is that downloadable PDF that you will need to get from the MEI website and fill out in Adobe. For example, if you can't get into your Just Grants account, you will need to reach out to Just Grants directly. We can help you answer any of the questions on that progress reporting form, but we don't have any access into Just Grants, so we can't help you get in there and submit your PDF into them. If you have questions about allowable activities or related to the statutory requirements of distributing funding, or if for some reason you cannot submit your administrator report into Just Grants by the deadline of June 30th, you will need to reach out to your OVW grant specialist. So you can call this phone number if you're not sure, if you don't have that person's direct contact information, or you can reach out to them. And then finally, for technical and logistical support using the new subgrantee progress reporting tool, if you have any questions on the content of subgrantee or administrator reporting, or if you want one-on-one technical assistance from us about progress reporting, you can reach out to VAWA MEI using any of these methodologies. And I see you have some more questions in the chat. Someone asked if the PowerPoint will be available. The answer is yes. And then The last question, someone asked, will we be able to send this link for reports at any time, or will there be a set time period in which the link will be available? For this upcoming reporting window, when you are submitting subgrantee reports on the January 1st, 2023 to December 31st, 2023 period, the links will be available May 6th, as soon as you yourself have access to your administrator dashboard and can send them out. In future years, there will be a set time period during which the links are available, but we are not yet, that hasn't been determined yet. That is a question for a later date, but I promise we will let you know what the time period will be in advance of it becoming in advance of when you will need to be submitting your progress or subgrantee progress reporting data next year. So we have a couple minutes left, and I know I breezed through the last couple slides. Apologies for moving so quickly. Had lots of wonderful questions today. Thank you all for your participation and engagement and enthusiasm for this process. And so if you have another question, you have a couple minutes, you can enter it into the Q&A pod and we will answer it. But I also want to share this slide again. So if you have any questions after you leave here today or tomorrow or next week, please reach out to us at vawamei@maine.edu and we will be happy to either answer your question via email or set up a time to speak with you at greater length. And with that, I'm going to stop sharing the screen mostly so I can see the chat again, see if we got any other questions that way.
I think we ran out of questions.
Wonderful. Well, I would like to say thank you very much, Maureen, for being part of this presentation today and for all of your hard work on getting this tool together. And thank you so much, Olivia, for being here and chiming in with your extremely helpful. Oh, interesting. That is a neat key takeaway summary. Sorry, I got distracted by that.
I was looking at that too. I don't know if everyone's seen that there's a key takeaway from this meeting that was put in the chat. So everyone turn those chats on because
yeah. Thank you, Olivia, for bringing OVW's perspective and offering context and being on hand to answer those tricky OVW specific questions and for all of your support and leadership in this work. Thank you to TA2TA and NCJ, FCJ, and specifically to Mackenzie for hosting us today and enabling us to use this space and have so many participants at one time. And thank you especially to our interpreters for helping us today to reach our audience and make sure that administrators could participate. And thank you all participants who logged in and joined us today for all the great questions.
And thank you, Devin. And have a great day.
Thanks all. Thank you so much, MEI, and thank you all for doing performance reporting and work in your communities. It's really appreciated. Thank you.